I recently began my Homelabbing journey and it's been a lot of fun. My goal for Homelab is to completely get rid of any cloud services and host a personal cloud for myself and slowly expand it so I can feel like I have an IT job at home. Despite having experience, I made these 3 large mistakes that I want you, the viewer, to avoid in the future. The damage has already been done on my Homelab, all I can do is really code for now or rebuild it from the ground up, but nah, I'll just suffer the consequences. Hello, I'm George Kostic. I'm a 3D artist, a composer, and a big nerd in IT and cyber world, and I'll be showing you my top 3 tips for Homelabbing. Now, I knew better, but I got humbled real quick. By the time I got too deep into Homelabbing, I kept forgetting how to set up stuff and forgetting a bunch of commands, despite having a couple years of Linux knowledge under my belt. But where and how do we document? I feel like not a lot of people talk about this. The documentation is supposed to be for you and the way you understand it, not really necessarily for others, but if you're lost, I'll walk you through how I do it. There are several ways to do it on your Homelab. You can deploy Obsidian or Joplin container, and I recommend you always having on a second tab so you can easily access it when needed. My problem is that personally for me, those apps are kind of slow via the web interface. I kind of cringe a little each time, but I still use them. Perhaps maybe I recommend you just keeping notes on a local PC or laptop if you're really not picky, because I actually run my Obsidian locally, mainly on my work PC. Another way you can do is you can install a GitHub-like service called Forgeo, and I really like using Forgeo. It's super fast and handles color-coded programming like YAML and Bash really easily. I personally have it deployed over Kubernetes cluster for fun. You don't need to do that. A single VM or container is good for Forgeo. Now, how do we document things? The structure I follow may be absolutely diabolical for others, but it works for me. I like to start out with an infrastructure that could be drawing on Draw.io, or which is a free service similar to Visio, then actually writing down my infrastructure. As you can see from my previous video, the idea is to ensure I have the names of my hardware and what services are running and what IPs of the hardware and services deployed and whatnot. Despite not including IPs in the video, of course, you need to update it as you get more hardware and or adding more services. Then I like to write down how I set up stuff, and it's separated by GitHub repos, so it's clean, but not always. Like my guide, which includes a bunch of things separated by sections, you don't need to write down every single thing, just enough to put you on the right path. I know some people like to take screenshots. I think that may be an overkill, but hey, if it works for you, then go ahead. Also, make sure your notes are backed up because you're kind of cooked if you lose access to your notes vault. In the intro, I talked about the damages I've done and to have to suffer with, and I'm kind of ashamed to tell you. In the beginning of my Homelabbing, pretty much every service is separated VM, and yeah, I'm sure longtime Homelabbers are cringing hard right now. I did this primarily because I like the Proxmox color tagging. It makes me feel like I'm running a whole enterprise infrastructure. So yeah, what was I thinking? But it's whatever. You can do this too, but it's a nightmare because when services don't work, you have to get the password from those VMs, and hopefully you kept a password manager vault, which I recommend you to do so. Then log in and then troubleshoot instead of just logging into a single machine and fixing as many services as needed. Also, the way I did it, it's a lot of IP addresses to keep track of, especially on a home network. So yeah, don't be like George Kostic is the lesson here, I guess. So yeah, in what ways you can consolidate? If I could redo my Homelab, I'd consolidate by having 3 to 5 VMs and each getting a category of some sort that runs multiple services. For example, let's say I want to run Grafana, Prometheus, Bezel, NetData, and whatnot. I'd make a VM called monitoring with color tagging on Proxmox and then deploy those services via Docker or even Portainer. Another way you can do is you can deploy Casa OS on a single machine with the same idea instead of just using Portainer. I don't recommend using Proxmox OSI LXC because, again, that's a lot of IP addresses to keep track of, but I do recommend using the LXC because it's the same idea. You can deploy heavy LXC and you can deploy several services on it. So yeah, I did talk about the goal of wanting to feel like I have an IT job at home. I'm complicating things on purpose. Like that Forgeo service doesn't need to be on a Kubernetes cluster, which takes time to do. Some of you generally just want to get rid of your cloud servers and manage your small infrastructure and barely touch it, which I totally understand. So yeah, which ways can you avoid complicating things? Like I mentioned, you can use Portainer or CasaOS for ease of use. Limit your production services of the same category to a single service. So what does that mean? For example, for some reasons I run Grafana and Bezel. You don't need to run both. Honestly, Bezel is easy to set up and straightforward. Another thing you can do is use either VMs or LXCs to keep consistency of your Homelab. I utilize both, but you don't need to really use both. Don't give your hardware VMs containers arbitrary names. Some people like naming things after like movie characters or video games characters. It's all fun and games until something breaks and then takes you a while to find it. And yeah, don't use different Linux distros, stick to one. I tend to find that headless Debian is the best for VMs and LXCs. It's super lightweight, and you can easily spin it up, and it's fast from my experience. People aren't going to like this, but limit your AI usage. I personally don't use AI because I value my learning, but AI can set up your home lab from the beginning and all the way to the end by just you asking it to do so, and just paste a bunch of commands. But the truth is you're not learning shit. Even if you're looking at the output of the command and asking what it does, you will still lack the fundamental understanding of what's happening on your system. Learn the basics of Linux and then do simple home lab projects like auto updates or auto backups, and then slowly move on to more complicated things like Kubernetes and whatnot. If you truly want to use AI, use it exclusively for troubleshooting, but make sure you're reading why the problem is occurring and how AI is resolving it, and don't just paste a bunch of commands. It's also risky in my opinion. Now, this may seem basic, but never feel obligated to do something on your home lab just because everybody else is doing it. If you don't think it's useful or worth the time to set up or even fun to do so, then just don't do it. For example, for me, I see a lot of people install OpenClaw in their home lab, and I personally don't feel comfortable having such thing on my hardware, so I just choose not to install it. Simple as that. I also recommend you researching the service you're installing a little and see what you're getting into. Some services may not be as secure or privacy focused as others. If that matters to you, because it matters to me, then don't bother installing the service and then regret it later. It's not fun. So yeah, short video, some of these tips may seem super cliche. I figured despite having IT experience, maybe the fact I missed them means some of you will miss them too. Or maybe I'm extremely unintelligent. I guess we'll never know. Anyways, as always, I hope you learned something, and until next time, I'm George Caustic.